think there's still a few gaps that the GPT isn't really offering.
You specifically talk about the enterprises because that's where the value is. I mean,
That how very unreliable this particular piece of software is.
It's probably never going to be 100% accurate because, as we said, it's a probabilistic model.
Yeah.
It can probably never be 100% accurate.
So they are essentially lying.
And your entire day on prompt engineering, the whole efficiency gain is lost.
So this layer can handle the access controls. The layer can make sure that your data is not going to OpenAI servers and things like that. It has everything GPT-4 plus plugins have right now.
It's very hypocritical of him to go and said it while have funded OpenAI in the beginning.
Is GPT-4 conscious or is it just a token predictor? Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the 2 Bits podcast. My name is Manujith. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Avantiu, and we have Lahiru, the Chief Technology Officer of Avantiu. At Avantiu, we do AI ML solutions, and we've been doing AI applied ML and engineering solutions for the past 4 years. So while we were working with mostly cutting edge or bleeding edge technologies in creating these solutions, we realized that there's a knowledge gain that we have to share with you all. And the purpose of this series of podcasts is to share this knowledge and our opinion on these bleeding edge technologies we have worked with for the past few years. Today's topic is Life and Lies of GPT. I think GPT is something you all know, at least ChatGPT. So today we are going to dissect GPT and let you know what's what and what it is not. So GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformers, which, as I understand, is a type of a large language model, right?
Yes, I think to give our viewers an idea about what it does, I think it's a bit important to give a brief introduction to what the underlying technology is.
Yeah.
So the large language models is the underlying technology of ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
To understand large language models, we have to talk about language models. And to talk about language models, we have to understand languages.
Yeah.
I mean, we do understand languages, specifically human languages. I just want to highlight two things. One thing about human languages is it's very unspecific. It's so for machines to understand human languages, this becomes a kind of a barrier.
Yeah.
So that's there. And then languages are a sequential data, which means the order matters. So considering both of these things, humans have come up with language models to help computers understand languages. So a language is essentially a probabilistic distribution over a sequence of words. So that if that's too technical for you, that simply means if you give a sequence of words into a language model, it will throw out a probability.
Right.
And the higher the probability, better the meaning of the set of words in that order. So that's...
So if it, let's say I give a sentence like the Jack and Jill went up and I stop it from there and ask GPT what comes next, it would say the hill because it looks at that as the most probable next word to come.
Exactly. Using the probabilities it has, it will predict the next word and then the next word like it.
Okay.
So yeah. So large language model is a type of a language model built on top of a very large neural network, about 10 billion parameters. So using these parameters, it can learn even the slightest detail about human languages, even the sarcasm, things like that, which is very hard to understand usually for a computer.
Even for some people, it's hard to understand.
But languages models have like overtaken those people. So that's what essentially a large language model, and it's trained using all the public data available on the internet.
I think the common crawl database, which essentially is internet, and then a bit of Wikipedia as well, around 3 million tokens from Wikipedia. So quite the most of the public internet, we can safely say.
Vast knowledge.
So the thing about GPT is that now everyone wants to ride the hype. Like let's call apples. It's a hype right now. It's a wave, and everyone wants to be part of this wave and make some money out of it as well. So maybe you are having your own business, you have your own enterprise, and then you are wondering what exactly can you use GPT for? Because you obviously don't want to miss this opportunity. You obviously see that there's something in GPT, the ChatGPT, whichever you want to work with. But at the same time, you don't know exactly how it's gonna make you money, how it's gonna get into your revenue generating process, or maybe how you're going to make things efficient using GPT. So I think the point of today's episode is to sort of explore these areas so that our viewers have have the benefit of demystifying these areas and have idea of what exactly GPT can do, and more importantly what exactly GPT cannot do, because I think that's the important part. So when I initially looked at GPT-3, I wasn't really that impressed because, as you said, it's just a token predictor, and it wasn't. I mean, it was good at it, but it wasn't too good at things.
Yeah, exactly. More you used it, worse it got.
Yeah.
maybe because you started seeing the mistakes it made, and we were slightly less impressed after a certain time of using it.
Especially, we have used its predecessors like BERT, and compared to BERT, it was an improvement, but pretty much it was like a better version of BERT.
Yeah, it was a huge leap, but not what the hype
was all about.
All about.
But then GPT 3.5 and 4 came. To be honest, they came out really, really fast. And I was kind of wondering how exactly they, pushed out all these different models. Usually, I think GPT-3, it took around 50 odd days to train. So I was wondering how exactly they pushed out these much better versions in the span of like 2 to 3 weeks. So I was impressed with GPT-4, to be honest.
Yeah. Actually, it turns out that GPT-4 was already on the way when they released GPT-3, but they wanted to undercut the big companies and get the product out fast, which worked out quite well for them. So that was like a business move from them to release GPT-3 when the version 4 was almost done.
Yeah, I think that worked really well for them, considering that all the other competition is like they are falling far behind. They were trying to catch up with it. So we have GPT-4 now, which can do inference, which can do computations. Now the plugins have come in. They can do. I mean, it can make coffee as well if you want it to make coffee. But in the enterprise sense, it's still. I think there's still a few gaps that the GPT isn't really offering, or specifically ChatGPT isn't offering. Isn't that right? Like we can't really take it as it is and put it into your business and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, with all the capabilities of GPT-4, it still has some drawbacks, and I think almost all the content over the internet is actually hyping up the capabilities. I think we'll maybe start with lowering the expectations a bit, because I mean, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to get something that is new to our viewers. So we'll first talk about the limitations of GPT-4 rather, because that's the latest model, and we will specifically talk about the enterprises, because that's where the value is. I mean, you can have fun with it on your own, but real value comes when the enterprises start using it.
That's good. Yeah. So if I'm enterprise, and I mean, we service a lot of enterprise clients, so I'm used to thinking like one. So for me, the first issue I have with GPT is that how very unreliable this particular piece of software is. Yes. So when I'm using something for an enterprise purpose, something where I have thousands and millions of other users waiting, I sort of expect that there's a certain level of reliability when I use it, that it would I can be assured that the output that I'm getting is 100% or rather 99% at least. But we have a huge problem of the content being spewed out of these GPT models not being accurate. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's not 100% accurate, and it probably never going to be 100% accurate, because as we said, it's a probabilistic model.
Yeah.
So it can probably never be 100% accurate. Yeah. So that's a big issue. I think maybe there are workarounds we can discuss later.
Yeah.
But at the point, I mean, using the bare minimum version of bare metal version of ChatGPT 4 is not going to work for enterprises because of this accuracy issue. I mean, if it could at least provide some citations for it, whatever it claims, this would have been could have been solved. But turns out that's not the case. That's the other limitation that we are going to discuss, which is that it cannot cite its references. The model itself learns and embed the data, but it cannot refer back to the original documents that it used to get the data.
Yeah, especially I think if you request it, so because I just saw this particular tweet today morning, if you request for it to say citations, in this particular instance, the GPT was saying that this particular journalist have given some opinion about a celebrity, and then the GPT was saying that. So the guy who's asking the question asked GPT like, "What are your sources? Can you give me your sources?" And it gives like like 2 links. These are my sources. And then when you go to these sources, it doesn't say anything like that that the opinion GPT is giving. So they are essentially lying to the trees.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the model hallucinates. That's what they call. Yes. So they come up with answers with high probability, but which are essentially lies.
Yeah.
So it can be a one big liar at some point. So that's going to be a huge problem for.
It's going to be a huge opportunity for you to get sued. Yeah. For you guys in the enterprises, it's a huge opportunity to get sued as well. And with that, another thing that I see is that there's very minimal control, right? So there's this like big black box that we cannot really do anything with, but we know that it performs in a certain way. So if it is like, if I'm using a ERP, I know exactly how the workflow goes. If something is wrong, I just adjust the the workflow in the ERP. But something is wrong in the model, who should I call? Like, where's the tech support? Who's going to adjust that for me?
Yeah, exactly. That's there are 2 things that wrong in that area. One is lack of visibility into the model. We don't know what it does. It just does it, and you have to hit accept or deny.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, even if you see the problems, you cannot. There is no way to fix those problems, right? Because there's no debugging. I mean, you can retrain it to become, more accurate, but you cannot. Other than that, you cannot do anything. Yeah.
I see people using this thing called prompt engineering, where you sort of instruct saying that, hey, you got this wrong. But how much of a prompt engineering you can do when it comes to engineering? You can just leave it to some unspecific like textual commands to rely on that to be accurate. You need something 100% is going to be predictable and accurate.
Yeah, and it loses the point. I mean, we are using this thing to become efficient.
Yeah.
And if you spend your entire day on prompt engineering, the whole efficiency gain is lost. So yeah.
And then you end up hiring prompt engineers.
Why?
And then, especially one of the other bigger concerns for me is that how the data is going everywhere. Like if I talk with my clients, the enterprises in the European region especially, if you guys are in Europe and you are under the GDPR laws, highly unlikely that you get the option to integrate ChatGPT into your services at the moment. Because the moment your user data leaves your servers and goes into the GPT servers, I think you are violating dozens of privacy laws then and there, because we don't know what OpenAI is going to do with this data. We don't know what's going to happen in the transit of data. So there's a lot of issues in the data privacy sector when we think about it.
Yeah. So directly using ChatGPT is not an option there. So let's say we took another LLM or a large language model and train it using your own data, and you're running it on site. Then there are going to be another set of problems, right? The number one problem is going to be that you cannot control the flow of data or how the visibility of data. Anyone who uses the model has access to everything that is trained with. So there's no data governance you can apply on the model. So that's going to be a big problem. And the other one is, even if you're running, that's the cost that it's gonna incur. That's gonna be crazy, right?
Running one side. So we did our initial cost estimations to run this on a similar LLM model on premise. That was like $2,000 for just the basic version of it. And it doesn't make sense, especially because OpenAI is giving it out in such a very low price arbitrage. So you can't really justify it.
Quite sus how they are doing it for such low amounts of money. I don't know.
Maybe a marketing gimmick, like how Uber Eats sort of captures your market by giving a lot of Uber essentially. Not a sustainable model, but maybe they have a brilliant MLOps pipelines that delivers these very low costing. But either way, right now, running it on-premise is not an option. And access control is an even bigger issue. I think whenever we start making enterprise solutions, the first question they ask is, where's your fine grained access control? So how do I make roles and how do I assign access levels? So I'll try asking that from GPT. So I think there's a lot of things that's not possible with GPT. The idea is that even if you are right now feeling like like you are going to miss out, having a bit of FOMO, that you should be using these technologies in your enterprises, or maybe you'll be lagging behind if you don't do this. I think the idea is that before you jump into these unknown waters, you need to understand what to expect, and what to expect as to what you can do, and what to expect as to what can be the outcomes of what you are doing.
Yeah, I think now we talked a lot of negative about GPT. Maybe we'll discuss. I think,
We are losing viewers left and right.
yeah. So if you are still here, there are ways to adapt GPT into your workflows, and so it's important to talk about that. And we'll before we go into the exact applications, we'll talk about how in a strategic way how we are going to approach this. So the first thing is go into this with the right mindset, and set your expectations right, because if the corporates jump in too fast and too early, your customers or your employees going to get disappointed. And if you once you get a bad experience, it might be really hard to convince them to use this thing, and there's going to be a lot of resistance.
I mean, we have seen this with chatbots, right? Automated chatbots came way before all the GPT things. But to this date, I wouldn't ask a chatbot, something that I would ask a human agent.
Yeah, whenever I go to a website and a chatbot pops up, the first thing I do is just
close it.
And that bad experience has affected me in a very long-term way.
Yeah.
So even now, I'm still not used to go ask ChatGPT when I know that it's accurate enough to do my work. So the bad experience has affected me in a very bad way. So it's very important for enterprises and companies to set expectations right before going all in.
Yeah.
So it's not it's not going to fix anything. It's not a magic bullet or a silver bullet to all your problems. But there are things this can do.
Yeah.
And now that we talked about a lot of negative aspects, I think there are a lot of engineering aspects where you can use this to mitigate these problems. So I think the researchers have done their work.
Yeah.
The model is there. Now it's engineers' time to get this and work around the model and solve these problems.
Yeah. As applied ML solutions providers, it's our time to shine.
Yeah.
So I think the key phrase would be human in the loop. Whatever you are going to do with GPT, the first thing you have to understand is you will need a human to oversee the whatever the output, whatever the actions done by your GPT or any other LLM model. So have that in mind, because none of if you are thinking of firing off half your employees and asking GPT-4 and the GPT LLM agents to do your work, there's a high chance that you would end up closing down your business, because there's no one to oversee. As we mentioned earlier, it's like an intern, so you can't leave to an intern to run your business.
You guys know about interns, right? You never assign them tasks and you just go away. You always monitor. So that's how GPT works. You have to oversee that. So there are multiple use cases to go in with. I think the most important thing when you are going in is to adopt incrementally. So human in the loop is the first thing, and then the next thing is adopt incrementally, so that you have total control over it, and you can learn and get an idea about this, so that as you go in, you have a better idea about what it can do.
Yeah.
So maybe start with simple content writing jobs where you don't need the 100% accuracy, as we discussed. So you know that this thing is not 100% accurate, so you use it for something where you don't have a problem with it.
Even humans aren't 100% accurate with content writing. So, however, at least if you are getting 90 to 95% accuracy and then you have someone overseeing it, I think it's a very safe space to let GPT do its thing.
Yeah. That being said, don't fire your content writers or the marketing department. Like we said, the human in the loop is important. For various reasons. So use it as a productivity enhancement to your teams, and go ahead with it.
So once you get to that level, now you are in level 1. You get you have GPT doing your busy work, like writing your content, maybe planning some of your campaigns. I saw someone asking GPT to plan the AdWords campaign, and it was pretty good.
Just busy work.
Just busy work.
Yeah, you're offloading the busy work, and you are doing the valuable work where human intuition matters.
Correct.
I mean, even in content writing, it's important not to use it for certain things like SEO because that would affect as you expect to your SEO scores because they are now working on putting the AI written content down in the search.
So I think once you go to this content part, the second part is that you can offload some of the analysis items again with the supervision of a human. For instance, for us when enterprise clients want us to do a system, the first thing is the thing is like, let's say we have 3 features. The fourth feature is always be reporting. So they always need, I mean, as enterprise, you always need 100 different reports. You need one report before your coffee in the morning. You need another report before your, I don't know, whatever the morning meeting. You need to do a lot of things with reporting, diagrams, and charting. So another place you can apply GPT would be to automate some of this reporting, but it's not just as transparent as applying it to, I think, to a content writing.
Exactly. So those are basically all about linguistic applications where you do certain, I mean, writing content or summarizing content as you suggested. It can do it pretty well, but again, I think human in the loop is important, especially for reports. Because it can actually get certain things wrong. But I think there are ways to mitigate that by, especially when you are querying data from databases. I think GPT has capability to convert natural language into SQL. I mean, SQL can be converted into other sort of databases, so it's a matter of engineering it. So whenever your non-tech guys want to directly go and access the data and summarize it from the database, now you can incorporate GPT and get this done without, so that could remove all the delays between, communication delays between you and your IT team and project managers, and, you can directly go to the source.
I think one of the biggest concern on in-house analysts is that they have hard time figuring out the SQLs because especially when your systems, like let's say you are using SAP, SAP or something like a huge system, taking out reports through queries quite a task because SQL itself is not that easy to work with. So you can entirely cut down the delays and make it very efficient by giving assistant to your analyst. The analyst can then focus on what matters and not figuring out
exactly. So what I've seen is forget about queries, right? Most of the corporates now have things like Power BI, which is focused on self-service. So, but even then, people are reluctant to do that because you have to go and kind of move things around, and I mean, you have to figure out the product and what it does. So it's a bit difficult. What they do is they go and ask the IT team to get them the data they need. But with ChatGPT, I think we can quite effectively solve that problem and connect teams to the data in the company very efficient.
And with some engineering work, you can exactly get it to create the reports itself as well, and then let the analyst team just correct things that are not upright. So
I think when we are talking about that, we are again coming into the problem of data governance.
Yes.
Right? Now, if you kind of ask ChatGPT to go fetch data, how do you control it? I think there's an engineering solution for that. Manujith, I think you worked a bit on that.
Correct. So right now we are doing the R&D and the implementations around these areas where we implement. Now as engineers, our task is to tame this GPT monster, LLM monster, and make sure you have a use out of it. So data governance and making sure there's some reliability, making sure there's some accuracy. These are engineering things that we can solve, but it's not something that is upfront that we can do out of the box. So it's something that people have to reach to us and then maybe have a chat with us, have a consultation with us. There's always a solution, but there just need to be that initial discussion to see whether it's going to be feasible or not.
Yeah. So generally speaking, I think we told that controlling the data embedded in the model is difficult. So how do you think we should approach? What's the general idea of data governance?
Idea is that there are multiple ways we look at this. One is that you keep your the private data, the data you don't want OpenAI know about, you keep it in your on premises, and then you create this layer, the sort of a translation layer, which does the data sort of fetching and then masking for you. So so this layer can handle the access controls. The layer can make sure that your data is not going to OpenAI servers and things like that. And when you use ChatGPT just to understand the linguistic commands. So one example is that, let's say your analyst wants to get your analyst to create a daily sales report out of all your departments. Rather than he going and asking you to ChatGPT or trying to figure it out on Power BI, we can create this layer. Into this layer, he would put his query saying that I want a report of all the sales department in the last month, and this layer would pick up the relevant schemas and things that we should send to ChatGPT. At the same time, it would use ChatGPT to convert that command into a sort of a machine understandable state. And this understandable state and whatever the engineering providence we put in, we can easily solve that matter.
Yeah, so it act as an assistant that would go and fetch the data, and it knows about your access levels, so it won't give you any data that is you are not have access with.
Correct. Yeah. So I think we talked about 3 different layers of implementation. So our idea is that you should start with the easiest layer where you integrate ChatGPT directly to your content writing, task busy work. Second layer where you would integrate ask ChatGPT with assistant, maybe for basic reporting, but still you won't be sending out your valuable proprietary data into their servers. And then the third layer where you will maybe give us a call and we'll figure out together how we can do a deeper integration into your businesses. There is definitely a way to use GPT to gain a tangible ROI, but it's not by letting people play with it. It's just something far beyond that.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are seeing into that. They are realizing that ChatGPT itself is not going to be directly applicable for use cases. So they are sort of coming up with these frameworks around ChatGPT, so that you can control it in different ways. I think we have experimented with a couple of open source frameworks, and I think Microsoft is coming up
with their own framework as well. That's correct. I think they would roll that out.
Probably tomorrow.
Probably tomorrow. Yeah, I saw the paper yesterday, so tomorrow sounds like a good time for them to roll out the features.
It's crazy how they're moving, how fast they're moving.
I think right now, competition is not having a single chance with OpenAI and Microsoft conglomerate. Especially Google is the biggest letdown.
I mean, we used to be huge fans of Google, but lately they seem to be falling apart, which is for me is a bit disappointing.
For me, it's a critical issue because all my photos are in Google Photos.
Lives depend on Google search, so hope it won't go down.
So I actually remember in 2021 they released this paper called Lambda, where they pioneered these GPT, the models with the research layer, with the plugins layer. So that paper was one hell of a paper, right? It had everything you need. It has everything GPT-4 plus plugins have right now. And then fast forward to 2023, they still don't have a working LLM. They have Bard. I don't know what to make.
Why would you name your AI Bard?
They named the earlier GPT model Bert, and then they named this one Bard.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's quite ironic that they have fallen behind, given that they carried this NLP field for a while. They actually came up with the idea for LSTMs, which was an early breakthrough of NLP. I think their Google Translate was hugely improved after that.
LSTMs.
And then the transformer architecture itself, which was the kind of underlying model for large language models.
All the models we are seeing right now.
Everything. So they are the pioneers.
That was in 2018. And now, and then they did all that work, put it to open source. They have no patents, and now they come to the stage where they can barely. So I recently saw that one of the chief AI guys of Google has resigned, citing that Google is now using prompt generations to share GPT to train Bard, which has a lot of that gives a lot of implications.
Yeah, it's very unlike Google.
Yeah,
I think the earlier I think they fell a little bit behind because they had to be more responsible in their approach. I think in the paper itself they think about a lot of stuff like what we talked about, like the model should be able to cite the references, and it cannot produce any harmful data. So I think their focus would have been in introducing it alongside Google search. So their focus was a bit different than OpenAI, which we just went ahead and invent AGI.
Yeah.
Their focus was that.
Yeah.
They didn't think about the product. They went ahead and let's create AGI and then figure out use cases later. That's pretty much everything.
Everything, yeah. I mean, I do have reservations about OpenAI's focus because they used to be open, as the name suggests.
Now they're just AI.
Just AI. Maybe they just call themselves AI.
Yeah. Actually, AI.com is redirected to
OpenAI. Yeah. Wonder how much money they paid to acquire that. So I think apart from Google, everyone else is also looking to jump into this. The LLM bandwagon. I think especially Meta has come up with their own Llama architecture, which got pirated and required a lot.
Again, a terrible name.
Yeah, and because one of the pirated, one of the open source researchers have trained their own data on Llama and named it Dalai Lama. Now, if you go and try to search for Dalai Lama, you are never finding the model because you get Dalai Lama on your screen. What's it? Everyone having terrible names for all these LLM models.
I don't know. I have no idea, but
probably the AI guys are coming up with their names. So Meta, I think, got pirated mostly. When I say pirated, the model weights got pirated quite a lot, and I have seen that they are doing DCMA takedowns on some of these models as well. Which makes sense. They are proprietary, but it's their fault for getting it leaked in the first point.
I think open source would catch up soon.
So, yeah.
But the problem is going to be training these models because they already have architectures figured out.
Yeah.
But training is going to be quite costly, and I mean the large corporations can do it easily, but
and the research institutes.
Yeah, people like Facebook. But I think it's important that open source also comes up with something so that technology doesn't get concentrated around the big companies.
Yeah. I think open source. I mean, we have Bloom from Hugging Face. We have Alpaca from Stanford. We have a number of things coming out. So I think we'll definitely see open source models in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And then while all of this is going on, we have other companies like Tesla and Apple still being a bit silent on this, especially Apple. I think they are focusing on AR. But I did see an open letter going from Elon Musk, Wozniak, and a few others saying that you need to, slow down on the AI research.
Maybe for them to catch up
Yeah.
on the research because especially Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hypocritical of him to go and said it while have funded OpenAI in the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, they were from the beginning going to be working on AGI. So I don't know what he expected.
Yeah.
And then he himself is running a AI company, which is actually beta testing cars on the road. And he is saying AI is not safe, which is quite crazy to me.
So the AGI thing, I think, coming to the conclusion, do you like a lot of people now have this philosophical battle even in the research space? Is GPT-4 conscious or is it just a token predictor?
I think the Microsoft researchers or OpenAI researchers themselves has said that they are seeing sparks of AGI in latest GPT models.
Very vague statement to say sparks.
I don't know what that means.
That should be a metric to see.
That's the thing about that decision, right? I mean, how do you define AGI?
How do we know whether we have consciousness or we are just text predictors?
Yes, I mean, if it can do the same thing that it can do using text predictors, I mean, are we overestimating our intelligence. That's the problem. I think the main differences, what I see between us and the models that we have now is that it cannot ask questions. We can ask questions and it can answer, but it can't ask its own questions.
Yeah. I did see a self curiosity based exploration model coming out, but it's more for engineering application where it sort of asks questions on, on an existing question.
Yeah, but follow-up questions.
Follow-up questions, not the original question.
You can't, I mean, we just sometimes sit around and question about things. But models, those machine learning models can't do that, luckily, maybe, because it has sort of a consciousness.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the problem, and that's what I think Elon Musk is worried about. I don't think it's anywhere, we are not close there, but I mean, earlier I myself was reluctant to believe that AGI was possible, but with the presence of GPT-4, I think maybe
getting likely.
Yeah, maybe we are getting there.
All right, with that we come to the conclusion of the first ever episode of the 2 Bits podcast. Today we discussed about GPT. We demystified and gave some controversial opinions, I guess. But by now you should have a better understanding about whether GPT is right for your business and if it's right where to apply it or rather where not to apply it. So stay tuned with the future episodes. We'll discuss more on other technology topics and demystify these for you. Stay tuned with us for our future episodes.
See you guys in the future episode.